a place of safety
Yeah.
for a mental health call.
Perhaps the biggest reason, though, is that Sabina was, again, most likely paranoid about the people examining her. And in her state of mind, she wouldn't have shared her paranoid beliefs with the people that might be in on it, whatever it was. So, the day after the madness on the motorway, Sabina was released out into the streets of an English city called Stoke-on-Trent, wearing her sister's green jacket and carrying £1,000 in cash and a laptop in a green plastic bag.
I think the cops did a massive disservice to that community.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Maybe I would have put an alert out and be like, crazy bitch coming your way. Crazy bitch coming your way.
Send her to a mental health facility. Yeah.
Put a big bell on her.
Yeah, just something to let the community know that, also, things are going to get shaken up around here.
Stoke-on-Trent wasn't actually even just famous for this story. They're actually famous for a film that a documentary shot there called Stroke-on-Trent, which involves a whole
So you got bored
community.
reading the book. Is that what you're telling us?
Well, Sabina had no idea where she was or any idea where she was going. But most interestingly, she hadn't once asked anyone in the hospital or anyone at the police station about her sister Ursula.
In my mind, she's being conspiratorially quiet. She doesn't want them to even think about her sister. She's not trying to implicate her sister in anything that's going on, knowing that wherever they're going to go, they're going to link back up after this.
Right.
Sabina simply wandered the streets of Stoke-on-Trent alone, possibly looking for the hospital, possibly just lost in a haze of psychosis. At 7 p.m., though, she came upon two local men who were out walking a dog. One of these men was 54-year-old Glenn Hollinshead, a self-employed welder, paramedic, and former Royal Air Force captain who is said to be, by all who knew him, a kind, generous, and helpful individual to anyone who needed it.
It seems to be like the picture of the nice man from an English town that is genuinely just believes that everyone is good.
Yes. I also love the duality of a welder and a paramedic, where it's like, we will make sure your bones stay together. You won't be able to move very well.
No, but I'll make you the Tin Man, but an alive Tin Man.
Absolutely.
Now, when Sabina commented on Glenn's dog, he and his friend Peter Malloy stopped and started a conversation. Sabina asked if there was a good bed and breakfast nearby, and when she was informed that there wasn't, Glenn offered his own place instead. It's just the kind of guy he was.
Oh, he's too nice.
Now, Peter was immediately put off by Sabina, whom he said was acting nervous, constantly looking over her shoulder.
Yeah, it's just a random woman you're meeting from the highway that has a laptop in a bag and she's like dirty from sleeping in a police station. You might be good to be a little bit suspicious.
Yeah.
But when Glenn offered her a bed, she relaxed, and all three walked back to Glenn's house. Sabina did mention on the walk back that she was trying to locate her sister in the hospital, but she neglected to mention anything about what had transpired the day before, and neither Glenn nor Peter could pry out any details.
And the turnaround for traffic cops, like, they couldn't watch that show that night, right?
Oh, no, they got to edit it.
They had to edit it, yeah. So they didn't know. That would be so freaking scary.
Oh, yeah.
Once they got back to Glenn's, the three of them started drinking. And while Sabina seemed open and warm most of the time, she'd grow cold if they asked her about her sister or what she was doing in England. She also wouldn't stop peering out of the window from behind the curtains. And at one point, she gave Peter and Glenn cigarettes before snatching them away again, telling the men that the cigarettes might have been poisoned.
Well, it's a cigarette.
Which didn't really make any sense because she was smoking back that whole night.
It just seems like Swedish flirting.
Maybe, and cigarettes are poisoned.
They
Every
are.
cigarette
They are.
is poisoned.
It
Take
is
it
true.
from me, I drink a bottle of whiskey a night.
Hey, man,
And I will tell you one thing, cigarettes are poison.
that's medicine.
I don't
Peter-
drink a bottle of whiskey a night, and if you're doing that, please seek help. Yes.
Now, Peter was very good. Now, Peter was completely unnerved by the whole situation, but Glenn dismissed Sabina's behavior as just quirky, and he even seemed to like it a little. But because Peter was uncomfortable, he just kind of left at midnight. Now, Sabina stayed the night without incident, and the next day, at Sabina's request, Glenn called his brother, who worked at a local hospital, to see if they could find Ursula. From what his brother said, Glenn was calm, and Sabina was talking in the background. At this point, Glenn's just thinking this woman's a little weird, but I'm going to help her out. And all that day, Glenn and Sabina just sort of hung around the house. and we have absolutely no idea what they did.
I don't know.
Okay.
All
Maybe
we know,
did some welding. I don't know.
all we know is that at 7:40 p.m., Glenn happily went next door to borrow some tea bags from his neighbor, a man named Frank Booth.
Coincidence?
Glenn returned home with the tea bags in tow, but only minutes later, he staggered back outside, bleeding from his stomach, saying that Sabina had stabbed him. He collapsed to the ground, and his last words to Frank Booth were instructions to look after Glenn's dog. Aww. Sabina had sunk a kitchen knife into his stomach 5 times, and to this day, nobody knows why.
Ooh, mama.
While Frank Booth called 999, Sabina took off, inexplicably grabbing a small rubber mallet and stuffing a piece of roofing tile in her pocket on the way out the door.
This sounds like me playing Disco Elysium.
Yeah, those are very strange objects to grab.
She then wandered Glenn's neighborhood, thwacking herself in the head with the mallet until her hair was matted with blood.
That scares the shit out of me.
Yeah. You do kind of have to think Looney Tunes, though. Get those little bumps up, push the bump up, bump goes up to the other side of the head.
CCTV footage shows her looking confused and distressed, almost like she's looking for something but doesn't know what she's looking for. She's had a full psychotic break. Wow. Eventually, a passing motorist pulled over and tried taking the mallet out of her hands. And when he tried to do so, she made noises of primitive rage and smashed the Good Samaritan in the head with the roof tile that she'd stashed in her pocket.
Man, you don't even know that shit's coming out. It's like fucking Bugs Bunny, the Looney Tunes again. Just like, like secondary weapon equip. Whip, whip, whip.
Did not expect that. Wow.
Paramedics soon spotted Sabina, but when they gave chase, she dashed to a nearby bridge. And rather than being taken alive, she jumped 40 feet down into the A50 highway. But again, miraculously, Sabina's attempt to kill herself to escape capture failed, and she was found down below with 2 broken ankles and a fractured skull.
Is she the freaking alien that starts out in the Men in Black movie that Will Smith is chasing?
Seriously, it sounds like the T-1000.
This whole thing is Species.
What the hell?
It's wild, dude. She really tried it. And then I wonder, because I know that, like, psychotic breaks does involve, like, you can have adrenaline rush. It's kind of like having being on PCP, where these things can happen, where you kind of can act in superhuman ways. But also the suicide attempt was like flippant. Like, it was the cops were coming, and she kind of just like randomly chose this idea of jumping off the bridge. And I don't think
this was a suicide attempt.
I actually don't know if it was a suicide attempt. I think it was just fucking this flee response that comes out of this syndrome where she just needed to get away from anybody she viewed as someone that was attacking her, this very acute paranoid breakdown, and just decided that it's like when people just jump out of a window in a horror movie.
I'm starting to think they should have just shot her on the highway. Maybe the American cops are right in the long run.
Well, I think it was a suicide attempt because on the highway, they could have, if they were just trying to escape, they very easily could have just run off into the woods. But instead, they ran into traffic. Where the danger was. And this is the same thing. Like, I think there is something about, like, they would rather die than be captured because their delusion has told them that what happens after they're captured is going to be worse than death.
Damn.
So Sabina was charged with murder, but every single question investigators asked was met with 2 infuriating little words. No comment. Over and over again. No comment. No comment. No comment. Meanwhile, Ursula had been released from the hospital herself.
Uh-oh.
But instead of supporting her sister, Ursula just hauled ass out of England. She spent some time in Sweden, but eventually settled in